friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kate. We do mom life together, in particular foster mom life. So if you're a foster and adoptive parent, I think there's a lot of amazing content on this channel that will be hopefully encouraging and inspiring to you. So if you are a mom, a foster adoptive mom in particular, I would love for you to subscribe and join the amazing community of mamas here. Just hit that red button down below and click the bell beside it for notifications so you don't miss any videos. So today's video is going to be about feeling guilty when you have to say no to a foster placement. So I shared a couple videos ago that we had originally planned on taking a break from foster care for a while, but my heart is just broken for vulnerable kids, and you know, things in our life weren't going the way we had originally planned with the move and, you know, traveling and that. So I felt kind of guilty and useless about not having our home open to kids in care. So we've been fostering for 4 years now, and we decided to open our home again after originally deciding to go on a break after adopting our daughter. So in saying that, we have been on the emergency after hours list for about a month now, and we haven't had any kids come through that, but we did get a call a few weeks ago. I mean, I think you're always going to feel a sense of guilt saying no, because you know there's a kid on the other end of that phone, a kid that needs a family, a kid that's in a hopeless, not safe situation. But in this particular situation, we had to say no. It's the only call we've gotten. We do have a respite placement right now, but it's the only call we've gotten since we reopened our home about a month ago. But we had to say no. It was hard, and I hated doing it. I've said no before, and it just about tore me apart. But this time it was easier, and that's for a few reasons. We know our limitations. Our family situation is a little bit different right now, and I could have said yes, but how would that affect our 2-year-old? So the placement we got called was a 2.5-year-old, and our adoption team recommended, when we opened our home to fostering again, to stay under Rosie's age. And Rosie is a little over 2. She's 2 years old and 2 months. And our adoption agency really recommended like capping at 24 months. And my husband and I totally agreed with that. So when they called us with a child that was 2.5, I had to think, okay, how's that going to affect Rosie? How's that going to affect our adopted daughter, who, yes, she's been in our home since the beginning, but, you know, she still has some different needs and some unique ways that I need to parent her, and, you know, just some higher needs thing. We've done the artificial twinning thing in the past, and sometimes it does work out. But in our case, when we had my biological 3.5-year-old and another 3.5-year-old, it was a very, very difficult 6 months for me, because there was just a constant competition and there was aggression that came out, and it was just hard. Artificial twinning is a hard thing because kids are trying to find their place in the family. So we didn't want to do that to Rosie. Rosie already struggles with, you know, mine is her favorite word right now. Mine, no, you know, everything's hers. She doesn't want to share. So, you know, even at daycare, struggling with biting and pinching. She pinches Lilia even when Lilia is taking a toy that she wants to play with or whatever. We struggle with those things already, and I didn't want to bring another child the exact same age into the home where that may be an issue. The placement workers don't know, like our thing says 0 to 2. So they see a 2.5-year-old and they call an open home that is 0 to 2. They don't know the unique intricacies of my family, and nothing against them, of course, but I had to say no. I said, you know, we're only doing up to 24 months. She was like, oh yeah, that wouldn't be, she got it once I said no. So that makes you feel a little bit better, because, you know, they understand the reason that you're saying no. Age, in my circumstance, it was age. So they understand, they completely understood why we said no to that placement. You know, and this time saying no was easier than it ever was, because I just had complete peace in my heart that that child wasn't meant to be a part of our family, and that there is another family out there that child is meant to be a part of, whether it's temporary or long-term or whatever it may be. I just knew 0 to 24 months, that's a hard limit for us right now in our fostering journey. And, you know, part of me, even just saying it makes me feel a little heartless, and you might think I'm a little heartless, like what, 6 months you can't say no to a kid because they're 6 months older than what you're open for? And honestly, part of me it makes me feel a little bit heartless. But on the other hand, there will always be another child who needs a home, and saying no to that particular child means yes to another child that would, you know, maybe be a better fit for our family. And we don't know, we can't see the future, of course, but I had peace in my heart. As soon as they called and said the age, I was like, no, you know, we're really going to stick to under 24 months. So saying no to that child means there's still an open spot. There's still a yes for another child. And in foster care, it's sad, but it's not going away. There's going to be kids who need foster homes. For the reality is kids come into care all of the time, and that's not changing anytime soon. And because we know our limitations, I believe that's important for the longevity of foster parents. When you say yes just because it's a child and you want to say yes, you want to help that child, even though it's outside of your limitations, you know, you might be setting yourself up for failure for that child. It might not be the best placement for that child. It might not be the best fit for your family. So knowing your limitations is so important to the longevity of foster parents. If you get a child that is outside your limitations, like you might just want to give up altogether, where if you had said no to that child and said yes to a different child within maybe more of your limitations, you may be a foster parent for years to come. We have 3 other kids in the home, and not only our adoptive daughter needs, but our biological children who are 6 and 7, they've had to sacrifice and they've had to give up a lot. And I just know, like for me, I love the baby stage, but toddlers is the hardest age to parent for me. They're into everything. They're making a mess. I get overwhelmed when my house is messy. I'm in that stage with Rosie right now. So to add another toddler who's going to be destroying my house and, you know, breaking our older girl's toys. Like I have 3 other kids to consider and how that placement would affect them. And they sacrifice enough as is. So I have to be careful about what type of child I'm going to say yes to. And in this current stage, I'm not saying we would say no to that age forever, but in this current stage, it's just not a great fit for our family. My mental health, like 2 strong-willed toddlers, I can only imagine. And I don't want to be a yelling, nagging parent. I want to be able to parent with patience and out of love and out of a good place with my mental health. Like I don't want to feel super overwhelmed. Birth order is another thing to consider. In our circumstance now, Rosie is our forever daughter. So I want to respect birth order and keep it under her. How would a child older than her kind of displace her feeling? Like right now, she's the baby of the family. I just didn't want her to feel jealous and displaced. And there's so many studies done on keeping birth order. And people go outside of birth order all of the time. And sometimes it works out fabulously, and sometimes it can be a disaster. And because she's already experienced trauma in her life, I just want to minimize that as best as I can for her. And I don't want to displace her or, you know, have her feelings of jealousy because I'm giving attention to another toddler for the type of attention that a toddler needs, where a baby is a more natural fit for her, if that makes sense. Like it would be more natural for her to become a big sister at this stage in her life rather than to have to compete for my attention, you know, in the toddler stage with another toddler. And at the time I got the call, we had the respite placement that we currently have right now, who's 5 months old. We had that baby coming in a few days, and I was totally okay with a placement overlapping for a week, but like 2 2-year-olds and then trying to take care of a 5-month-old just seemed really overwhelming for me at that moment when the placement worker called. My 6 and 7-year-old are home for the summer, so that's like just a lot going on. It maybe would have been different if my older girls were in school at the time, so I had only 3 kids to care for during the day, but I still have to meet the other kids' needs because they're home for summer break right now. The bottom line is when I got that phone call, I knew in my heart there would be a better fit for that child and that we weren't necessarily the best fit for the child or for our family. New foster parent Kate would have said yes right away, probably without even telling my husband. But I've learned a ton over the past 4 years. I know my limitations, and I want a placement to be a success. I want it to be a good fit, not only for the child coming into our home, but for everybody else in our family. And it's funny because my husband was shocked when I said, oh, we got a call for a 2.5-year-old, but I said no. He was shocked because I'm a yes girl. I say yes, I jump in with both feet, and then I kind of figure the details out after. But you know, my husband has seen where my stress levels rise or where things may get a bit too overwhelming for me and tries to protect me from myself because I am a yes girl. So he was shocked to hear that I said no, but I think I've just learned a lot more about my limitations in the past 4 years of fostering. I just want to encourage you to be discerning with your yeses. I know your heart is big. That's why you are a foster parent and you want to say yes to every single call that you get, because you have a big heart and you know kids need loving homes and you want to help all of them. But the reality is you can't help every kid in foster care. You can't help all of them. And I've seen too many placements break down when foster parents say yes and jump in too quickly without considering some things. And that causes more trauma for the child when a placement breaks down. So Don't just say yes because you're a licensed foster parent with a big heart. Set your limitations and parameters beforehand and stick to them. Ask a lot of questions and don't feel guilty if you have to say no. I mean, part of you is always going to feel guilty. I think that's just our nature. I still feel guilty and I think, where is that child? I hope that child's in a safe home. But in reality, I just knew our home, I didn't have peace that it was the right placement for our family. You're probably going to feel sad every time that you say no. Because it's a child. It's not, I say placement, but that's a child on the other end of the phone. A child who needs a safe place. But just don't let your sadness turn to guilt and kind of let it take over. Saying yes for the wrong reasons or saying yes without considering things could ultimately turn out really negatively for both you and that child. I have a pre-placement questionnaire in the foster care binder printable that you can get. You just sign up. There'll be a form in the description box below. You can sign up there and it gets sent directly to you. It's just a pre-placement questionnaire where you and your husband, you and your spouse can already set your parameters, your limitations, and then you can just kind of ask those questions to the worker when they're calling you with a placement. And the workers aren't always going to know all of the answers, but the more information you get, the better informed of a decision you can make. I think we get the calls we get for a reason. God's hand is in all of it, but discernment and wisdom is super important in foster care. And I think if God really wants that specific child in your home, if you said no once, that you will get another call for that child. If they can't place that child in another family, you'll get another call. And maybe the second time around, you might be able to think, okay, yeah, maybe we could do this, or maybe we couldn't, or maybe it would still be a firm no. But, you know, if it's that child's really meant to be in your home, I believe the calls will keep coming. You know, just remember, it's not your fault that that child is in care. And yes, you have a big heart, and yes, you want to help. And I love your heart for that. But you have to know your capability and you have to know your limitations in order to ensure a successful placement. And in the long run, that is in the best interest of that child. In saying that, don't put so many limitations in place out of fear. I think there's some parents that do that. They say, oh no, we can't take any special needs. It has to be this age or this gender. Like, don't put so many limitations out of a place of fear. But just be discerning, have wisdom, gain wisdom, know your capabilities, know your limitations. Don't make them unreasonable. Be practical, logical, pray, and ask for guidance. Remember, every no means yes for another child. So I have a foster parent course called the Foster Coaster. You can access it on my blog. I get messages all of the time from you guys asking advice and what I would give. This is my heart. Like, I've poured everything into this course to try and help as many foster parents as I can. You want to know more if you are new to fostering, if you I remember what it was like being a new foster parent, and I wanted to gain as much wisdom as I could, and I wanted to know everything I could. And that is what I've put into this course. It's called the Foster Coaster. There'll be a link for that down below if you're interested in that as well. But if you like this video, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. It helps other like-minded mamas to find my channel. Subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have you. I would appreciate that so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the hard work that you're doing for vulnerable and orphan children. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.